All information given in this episode is for educational purposes and should not be tried prior to consulting a licensed physician and or certified state or accrediting bodies. We encourage all listeners to research, talk, and make all inquiries to all of the important professionals and governing bodies before acting on any information heard on the De La Fit podcast. Any action taken by any listener is done by and under their own omission and action, whether conscious to the results positive or not.
Tuned in to the De La Fit podcasts, 360 degrees of holistic fitness and health, all in one podcast.
Salutations and proclamations. It is I, it is you, it is us, it is we. Together we make up the digital family that is the De La Fit podcast. I'm your host, Philly's #1 son, aka the Body Alchemist, Sun Moon Bay, bringing you another podcast excursion. Welcome everybody and happy Friday to you. I hope that you are tuning in to us and that your day has been filled with positivity. We are going to be talking about a rather sensitive topic on this episode of the De La Fit podcast. So a quick trigger warning for all of you out there. Trigger. We're going to be talking about the topic of child trafficking. Something that takes place very often in the United States and abroad. Something that we feel needs to have light thrust upon it. And it's something that we believe that we are hoping to bring some type of education and awareness to via our guests. Before we get into this, we're going to talk a little bit about what's been going on in the media, things of that nature. And there's so much that's been going on in the media. And first of all, we did this interview, probably about a good 5 months ago. Many of you that tune in, you know that sometimes we do interviews with individuals. Many of the guests that come on the show, they're very busy people, so we interview them and we get these interviews, and sometimes as we're preparing an interview, something else takes place. Pandemic, coronavirus, racial injustice, and many things. And then we're like, okay, because of you, the listening audience, sometimes what it is that you demand at the time has to supersede what we already have planned. So we actually did this interview, I would say, again, about 4 or 5 months ago, and we were holding it back until the right time. But now is the right time. Specifically, when you look at some of the things that's been taking place in the internet. Now, think about maybe last month, the internet was rocked with conspiracy theories about companies, online companies, and human sex trafficking, and it was a lot of things going on. And we thought here at the De La Fit podcast that it would be good if we were actually able to have a guest that could speak about the truths of what takes place in human sex trafficking, give you facts and information that you could use to better help make yourself aware, make you and your family aware. So that's why we are having this show on this particular episode. And I want to always remind people, because I always get this from people. They'll say, you're a health and fitness show, or you're a fitness health show, but you don't attack or talk about the normal topics of a conventional fitness show. That's because here we believe fitness is not just protein shakes and barbell plates. It's not just about lifting weights. It's not just about push-ups, pull-ups. It's not just about that. It's about spirituality. It's about your mental health. It's about your physical health. It's about everything that you need to function. Being aware is another way of being fit, physically, mentally, and spiritually. So that's why we always have such a diverse array of guests. Our guest for today is Nakeeba Gooding Macy, and she has devoted her life to spreading information and knowledge about sex trafficking and teaching people how to be aware to further protect themselves as well as their family. So without further ado, I'm not going to give a long dissertation because I want to get really into the conversation and that we had itself. So we'll be back right after these sponsors, and we'll be continuing with our interview with Nakeeba Gooding Macy on the truth about sex trafficking or child trafficking. De La Fit Podcast is sponsored by Mountain Made CBD. Mountain Made is changing the CBD game by offering a line of high-dose CBD tablets at an affordable price. Their products are THC-free and third-party tested for accuracy, cleanliness, and potency. Their products, which ship nationwide, include Build for CBD saturation, Boost for precision titration, Recovery for rest and rehab. With 9 years experience in hemp and fitness, Mountain Made's founders are focused on creating a quality product to help those who live an activated lifestyle. Check out www.mountainmade.life to find out more about how their products can help you crush life. Remember, their products ship nationwide. Go check out their website today and follow them on social media at MNTMADE. I started using Mountain Made's Build CBD tablets to help me with the injury in my elbow. And let me tell you something. Not only is the injury subsided, but now I can do push-ups and I'm back to bench pressing. So I encourage anybody who's interested to look up, check out Mountain Made and all their products. I think you'll be glad you did. What's going on, everybody? It's Philly's #1 son. Listen, if you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain. It's free. There's a creation tool that allows you how to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer. Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's everything you need to make a stunning podcast in one place. So listen, if you want to be like me and have your own podcast, go to anchor.com. That's anchor.com.
You're now tuned in to the De La Fit Podcast.
.360 degrees of holistic fitness and health. That is the De La Fit Podcast. What's going on, everybody? Happy Friday to you. I hope everyone is doing well out there. Today, we're going to be talking about a particular subject that might be a little bit triggering to our listening audience. We're going to be talking about sex trafficking, particularly child sex trafficking. And for many of our listeners out there, you know, where we deal with topics dealing with our health. The reason we're talking and tackling this topic is because awareness is part of our health. You need to be aware of what to eat, of what to do for your health, of what to do for yourself physically, mentally, spiritually, as well as how to protect your family. That includes our children. So this is why we are going to be doing this particular interview today. I have with me Nakeeba Gooding. Nakeeba is a fourth-year Ph.D. student in the criminal justice of public policy and administration at Walden University. Nakeeba has taken time out of her very, very busy schedule to sit down and talk with us via phone because we're still dealing, unfortunately, with the COVID-19 virus. But thankfully, we have her here with us. Nakeeba, are you here with us? Is the line going through?
Yes. Hello, everyone.
What's going on, Nakeeba? So,
how are you?
Oh man, we're doing the best we can. You know how it is. Mastering this, what do they call it? That distancing, that social distancing.
Yes. Yes, we have 6 feet in between each other.
Exactly. So, you know, we're just doing what we can do, trying to keep our spirits up and continuing to do programming like this, which can help people. Nakeeba, got a question to ask you. So first of all, give us a little bit more background about yourself and what made you want to become educated in this particular subject and then devote your professional life to this.
Well, I have been dedicated into criminal justice for now almost 19 years. And it's my passion. It's what I love to do. I love to be able to educate and assist. What I embody is being able to assist those youth in need and that are at risk. And for the past 18 years, that's what I have been doing. Now, I have moved on into administration for the first year, so now a total of 19. And with that, I have been with in and around the Philadelphia Family Court System, the juvenile division, and being able to assist as in being able to speak to the youth, being able to provide them with awareness of what's going on. And what captivated my mind in being able to start this journey on assisting in human trafficking was a touching story that I received from a young lady who was a victim and now she's a survivor. And she moved me to be able to help others not be in the situation where she was caught up in. So now my job, and I feel passionate about this, is to be able to help people be aware of the identifiers and be able to see that this is not just outside of their neighborhood, but this is also where they are living and where they are.
So, well, let me ask you this. Where are the vast majority of sex trafficking victims from? Where? Give us that idea of what we're looking at, you know, because I know many of us, unfortunately, we look at these crime shows and things of that nature, you know, and I feel we have a popular misconception of what we believe sex trafficking is. So give us a little bit of more of a clear definition.
Well, a part of sex trafficking is a small portion of a large portion, which is human trafficking itself. And human trafficking has to do with being in a situation where there's violence, deception, coercion, or being forced to do something that you don't want to do. That is, you don't want to do this, but you're forced to do it. So out of human trafficking is a larger portion, which is sex trafficking. And those are people who are being pushed to do, again, something that they don't want to do, but they're either under the influence, or they're beaten to do it, or they're coerced to do it. So I'm going to take you back for a moment. Human trafficking looks like, smells like, and feels like someone you know. It is not often people who you don't know that just pick up and pull you. Some people think that, oh, you see the white van run. Yes, I would encourage you to go the other way. But the people that will put you into immediate danger are those who you know, those who live in your immediate surroundings. People who have an abuse, as in substance abuse, mental abuse, or domestic abuse, those people are willing and able to assist those who are feeding their abuse by being able to provide them with you. So if a young man or a young female they're in danger. Even babies, they're in danger. Sex trafficking comes from being a prophet. And if someone who is in poverty and they see, if I sell you to this man or a female and I'm going to get $1,000, $5,000, and they tell me that you're going to have a better life, well, it's easy to make that profit. The hopes is that you are going to have a better life. But that's not always the case. The case is now you're just sold into someone else sodomizing you and molesting you and being able to produce money off of your body. This doesn't just happen to females. This also happens to males. And generally, the face looks like someone you know.
How many children are kidnapped or sold into sex trafficking a day?
Sex trafficking is the biggest underground, underrated, underdocumented there is. The statistics show 1 out of 4 will be someone being sold into sex trafficking. Generally speaking, minorities and the ones who live in urban areas are the ones who are triggered and targeted. Some of those, even though we say, I'm saying to you as someone you know, because these people who prey on those they're going to put into sex trafficking, they're also the guys who are looking to, let me butter her up, the pimp. Let me look to see how he's doing. How can I coerce him to do something that I need him to do? And then I'm just telling him, oh no, these people are just here. Let me dope him up and then I'm going to get him. Statistically showing that when these people are getting to when these predators grab these people, they're grabbing them to be able to make the profit out of it. And it's 1 out of 4. So you send your kids off to school and you have 4 kids, one of them will get seduced.
So you say again that it's that person we know. So is it for a parent? Is it the friends of the parent? Is it the friend of the child? Kind of make it so that for an individual who isn't familiar with this, they can kind of visualize it.
It could be a boyfriend. It could be a boyfriend. It could be a girlfriend that you've been knowing for years, and her friend just saying, "Hey, just do this. They're going to give you $5. Just show them your boobs." Mm-hmm. Hey, that $5 is that help you? How about we give you 20? How about we give you 200? You like making money. You like looking good.
They're saying this to the parent or to the child?
To the child. They're not talking to the parent. They're talking to the child.
Gotcha.
Only when a parent is being coerced to doing this is when they're in really poverty-stricken areas where you have those in I would say India and Africa and those things like that, where they're provided with money just to sell their kid off, or those who are taking methamphetamine, or they have a high seduction of substance that causes them to not think clearly, and they sell their children off.
Gotcha.
So not too long ago in the news, a 4-year-old went missing. Last year,
Right.
a 4-year-old went missing. She went home. It was a custody dispute. The father won the custody. The child was supposed to have visitation rights with the mother. The mother then sold the child to a boyfriend that she was dating. He then sold the child to another friend. The child they found the child safe and others safe in Texas. And this was all over the news.
Wow.
But your face is someone you know.
I'm hearing you, and I'm trying to digest mentally the type of mindset that could do that. You know, it's utterly disturbing, and it's downright disgusting. You know, I mean, to me, to do anything like that to anybody, but to a child, is sickening. You know, one of the stats we have, you were talking about 1 in 4. In a report done by Ryan Miller, Niquil Ellis, and Aliyah Destier for U.S. Today, it says that there are more than 4 million victims of sex trafficking globally.
Correct.
Is there an official? I think you already said there's no official estimate of it. In period, there's no official big number that we can pull out to figure out how much this is.
It affects everybody. It affects everybody. But a number stats I'm going to give you. 51% identified as victims of trafficking are women. 28% are children. And 21% are men. Now, some of the 21% are men who are noted. And remember, there are so many people who are trafficked that they don't come out and speak on it. So these victims have yet to be survivors. And so they're not counted for because we don't know. But those 21% are men. Cut that in half, and you have some are sex trafficked and some are laborers. Because some are coerced to come here. 72% of people are exploited in the sex industry are women. There are women. And the reason why is because they're drugged. They're being sold a lie, as in, I love you, baby. I'm going to be here to take care of you. It's that boyfriend mentality, and then come to find out he really wasn't your boyfriend. He just wanted you to do this. And he will placate to what your needs were, which is, I know you love me. If you love me, you'll do this because we need the money. You didn't make enough money for us today, so they'll beat you, and then you say, I'll try again harder. So that money you never see, but he got the car. He's riding around. Or there's a madam who's also there who's collecting. So it's not just the men who's the pimp.
It's the women too.
Say that again, I'm sorry.
I was saying it's the women as well.
Yes, it's also the women. 63% of identified traffickers are men and 37% are women. That's why I brought this up. That it's not just the men. But the women will play to, you know, girl, you're my friend. We got to do this together. We're going to do this, and we're going to make this money, and we're going to build each other up. So they play, again, on that feeling that you feel alone.
Right.
Human trafficking in all scales has to do with the fact of if they can coerce you to do something, it's because internally they see in you that either you're weak, they found a way to get or maneuver around you, or you don't have a huge family network that you chose not to connect with. Not to say that the family network is not there and it's not present, because there are plenty of people who come with two-parent homes, who comes from a loving family, even if it's not two-parent home, but they don't feel the connection to their family. But that predator do. So that predator will placate to the need. They don't love you like I do. Look how I support you. Look how I take care of you. And they will lift your spirits up to pull you in, to move you in. And then once they move into that space and place in your body and your heart and your mind, then they have you.
Hey everyone, we hope that you're enjoying the interview thus far. We'd just like to take some quick time out to remind everybody to like, follow, share, and subscribe. With every like, follow, share, and subscription, it helps the Daylight Fit podcast to grow. And the more we grow, the more information we can bring to you, the listener. So please, take some time out, like, follow, share, and subscribe. Thank you. So preying on the weaknesses and of any type of dysfunction or ill communications between the family or anything that child or teenager or person is going through. Correct.
And it's easier to coerce a child than it is an adult.
Of course.
Because children are easily manipulated. You can manipulate a child by just doing a couple cute things for them, and then they figured you love them. No one else loves me like this. An adult, after a while, they'll catch wind to it, unless there's some other underlying symptoms the adult is having. But a child is easier to manipulate, and they see that. And that's why the risk of human trafficking is higher in children than it is in anything.
Are children in foster care particularly more vulnerable than children living with their parent or guardian?
It is equal. Some say that it is higher because the runaway aspect is higher. When the child is in foster care and they don't feel the love from their foster parents, they'll consistently run away from that family or from a foster parent's home, which is easy for a predator to get hold of that client or that person. The issue is still this, that because in foster care, they're not, generally speaking, the child is not placed in the same neighborhood. They're placed in all different types of neighborhoods. So a predator has to take, if he really wants to hone in or she wants to hone in on that particular person, they will have to follow that person all around. But if that person had enough time to be in that foster parent's home, maybe 2 to 3 months, and this predator is now gotten to the seed of this person, it doesn't matter where that kid has been moved to, that predator will follow, even into placement. The predator will say, hey, I know the judge sent you there, or you got placed there. You're going to have your night out on Friday. Meet me at the car. And their hold is much more than the hold that the family will have or the court will have, because they still think in their mind that this person loves me. I guess he hurts me every now and then, but he's always here for me. So that's what they're seeing.
It's a staggering statistic that I'm reading here, again, from that same U.S. Today article, and it says profits from forced sexual labor, and I think you might have said something or touched on this earlier, are estimated at 99 billion worldwide. That is a frighteningly and utterly horrible number dealing with this particular action. I mean, that is horrible. And then there are estimated 9,000 illicit massage parlors across the United States. What, and excuse my language, what the holy fuck is going on?
What's going on is it's a business. It's a business like any other business. You have marijuana selling. At one point it was illegal. Human trafficking is what they call prostitution. And it's the oldest profession. And the issue is here is that this is slavery, is modern day slavery, because the person who is giving up their body is not profiting from it. They're not reaping any as a benefit. They're going through this, and the person who's benefiting from it is the person who's putting them through this. You know, an average victim who survives human trafficking can have sex about up to 8 to 9 times a day.
Jeez.
Without rest.
And it's difficult to even picture that. I mean, I know you said, you know, about it's a business, and you talked about marijuana selling. It was illegal. I mean, but in my mind, and I'm sure in the listeners' minds, it's like, you know, at least when you put marijuana compared to this, it's like, it's definitely apples and oranges. You know, it's like so much, but I understand what you're saying as far as a business, but it's just so depraved, you know? It's just really, really sick.
Okay. See, marijuana was once illegal.
Right.
But everyone did it underground.
Right.
Once it became legal, no one thought of it as something to be illegal.
Right. And I totally get that.
Alcohol was once illegal, and now it's legal. Sex trafficking will never become legal because it's victimizing the innocent.
Exactly.
And yes, they are apples and oranges, but I need you to open your eyes to see how society has allowed to where we were to where we are now. Alcohol, marijuana, there's been coke has been put into drinks and foods, and now no longer being utilized for that, however, being used for medicine.
Right.
But now you have this here. This is more than that. I'm going to use this term. America became woke from this situation in the early 2000s, late 1990s. This has been a situation at hand that on a global scale for many years, for centuries, decades. But America had been woke since 1997.
Man, that's like almost 30, 20 some odd years ago.
Exactly. But there's been fighting in human trafficking way beyond that. Before that, in the 60s, in the 50s, in the 40s, people have been sold into this. People in Africa have been gobbled up. You see not so long ago, almost about 5 to 7 years ago, girls gone missing in Africa, and they're begging for them to come back.
We're seeing it in northern Philadelphia. We're seeing,
exactly.
And we're hearing about the organ salvaging, kidnapping and stealing of organs.
The hoarding, the mules that are happening, the people who are being told that you come from wherever you are to come to the United States. You'll get a plot of land and a home, and they get here and they get doped up. Just like that happened to what they were selling to people in Puerto Rico, and they bring them here, and now they're landing up in Kensington and Allegheny, not having their plot of land, not having their home, but their SSI checks are being held, or their welfare cards are their EBT cards are being withheld from them, their identification cards are being withheld from them, and they're told that they're not a legal citizen, which is because these are Spanish people who don't know the English language, so they can't communicate with people on a regular scale. So they don't know that, yes, you're a legal citizen. Yes, you can go get your paperwork. But they've also been given injections of heroin. So they've been given substance abuse.
Taken advantage of.
So they're all been taken advantage of. So I did bring up marijuana and alcohol and sex trafficking, but I want you to see the pattern how America has been going and how people are being seeing this. If you do not take a hold of what is happening, and yes, they've been woke for not that long, but they are being proactive. The Human Trafficking Act didn't come into effect until 2000.
Right.
We're 20 years in. So you just been woke for 20 years? When people have been sold into slavery? When people being abused? People being cut up for just coming here and being killed for drugs to being sold into here? This is an issue on a broader scale. But no one is going to take action unless someone starts speaking up. And even when people speak up, yeah, they're going to get hurt from it. They're going to be silenced. But the more people talk, the more actions that can be happen, and more can be affected and changed.
And you know what? I understand where you're coming from as far as the business standpoint, and you're right. The United States, as far as being woke, even as you said earlier, as far as marijuana, and now how they're seeing, quote unquote, how it was a dangerous drug, supposedly. Now it's not, and it's beneficial and all this. And we did prohibition years ago and all these other things. And now this heinous, devious crime. I'm going to ask you this. How can we make ourselves more aware and keep our children and families safe from these sexual predators? And before I do that, I do want to clear up something, because I was saying about this heinous crime. This is something, as you said before, this can never be good. This is never, ever going to be acceptable, and it shouldn't be acceptable. And like you said, for decades, this is sick. But how can we make ourselves more aware to keep our children, our families safe?
I'm going to use the term, be woke. Pay attention. Your kids are screaming for you to pay attention. Look for the identifiers. If they're closed out, they don't want to communicate with you. They're very argumentative. They're constantly on their phone, and they're shell-shocked away from any. Even if you take the phone away from them, their world explodes. They're on every type of social media. They come in with new clothing that you didn't pay for, clothing that is expensive, or not even that is expensive, but something that is not the norm in your household. Start listening to what your kids are saying. The more that you are more visible, the more that you can be able to pay attention to all of the outliers that these predators are doing. They're hitting them at their self-esteem. So if you have low self-esteem and you constantly want to please the person who's helping you, if you start investing into the children, then they don't need for someone else to give them the praises, because they know their self-worth.
Very true. Very true.
I'm going to say this. A lot of people say, oh, I give my kids what I didn't have. What you're not giving them, even though you're running out, buying them the Jordans, the new Nikes, the new PlayStation, the Xboxes, what you're not giving them is attention. What you're not giving them is love. What you're not giving them is time and investing into them. If you put in as much as you put out, you'll reap what you sow. And in your children, and in those people that you say you invest in, if you spend 10 more minutes with them, there will be a better product for this society. And no one can take away what you have invested into them. Anytime you buy something, you're taking time out from being with that kid. He just wants your time, not the product.
What would you say to a young person who's listening to this, who is seeing some signs with a friend, or is feeling that they may be close or in this situation at this time? What would you say to them?
The one thing I would say to a person who feels like they're in this pressed up talk, go to the nearest person and tell them what's going on with you. Say something to them. Tell them, I have a safety word and I need to tell you it. speak to someone you believe will listen to you. If you find a friend that you know that is going through this, tell someone. Tell them you're not sure about it, but you see some things, and even if it makes you feel a little uncomfortable, the best thing is that you're helping out that person. Closed mouths don't get fed. And the more that you start speaking, the better that person could be helped. And it may not be trafficking. They could be just hungry. Or they could just be alone. Or their self-esteem is low, but they might be going into that. The first thing is to be, if you want to be a good friend, you need to start listening and speaking up for them. Because sometimes they don't feel as though that they have that voice. But if you have it, you start talking. If you feel as though that you're going to that circle, stop and think. Is this person really helping me? How is this person helping me? Are they listening to everything I'm saying, or are they telling me what I want to hear? By just giving me just a little bit of what I think I want to know, but then telling me, oh, don't worry about it, I got it. But then they're not helping you. Remember, a true friend will listen, will help you, and will also seek advice, and will also see if someone else can help you, because they themselves can't do it. A true friend will always be there, not just when they need you to do something for you. And a true friend will never make you feel bad just because you couldn't do something.
Nakeeba, thank you so much for coming here to the show and giving us the benefit of your education and your time and energy. We thank you so much. And do us a favor, let the individuals, let the listeners out there know if they want to get in touch with you, if they want to get more information, perhaps there's something that they may feel that they need to clarify as far as to make them more woke. Where can they contact you?
I am on Twitter. I am on, as in Najami, Najaine. I am on Instagram, also Najami83, and on Facebook at Nakeeba Gooding, and that's spelled Nakeeba with no H, people. So please hit me up. Feel free, contact me. I'm always available to talk, converse. More minds to be able to stop this will help everyone. This is not just something that is happening in one particular area versus another. This is happening globally. This is in your neighborhood. So if we can work together to stop this, then that's all I'm about.
And you do presentations as well. You'll go in and to different organizations and do presentations to educate people about this topic as well.
Correct. I do presentations at universities and also private institutions. And the more that we can educate those wonderful minds, the better we can have a healthier society and be able to prevent this.
Thank you again, Nakeeba. We appreciate you again for coming to the De La Fit podcast and speaking with us. If you're out there and you're listening and you feel you need help, please, you can contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline. It's confidential, it's toll free, and it's available 24/7 and in more than 200 languages. Call 1-888-373-7888, or you can text Be Free, that's BEFREE, or 233-733. Please, if you feel you need help, get help, please.
And just to add, it's text HELP to Be Free, so that you can also let them know. Text HELP, HELP, to 233-733.
Hey, you, with the earbuds in their ear. Have you ever wanted to start your own podcast? When I was trying to get my podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions. How do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. I like to upload my episodes directly to the app and then promote. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast, make money doing it. Go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast.
So I'd like to thank Nakeeba for being a guest here on the De La Fit podcast and sharing her information and helping to bring about awareness where it comes to this this grievous action, this heinous action of child trafficking, something that we ourselves need to be fully aware of. We have families, you have siblings. These are things we need to be aware of in order to properly protect ourselves, in order to be fit for the society that we live in. So I am so thankful that she was able to come and share this information and the benefit of her education. Please, people, we need to consistently adapt and grow and not bury our head in the sand, as easy as it can be. And believe me, it can be easy, but it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't help. We need to constantly, always be educating ourselves where it comes to these things, because just as we spoke on, just as I spoke on in previously in the introduction of the show, conspiracies are one thing. They're based on opinions and sometimes unfounded opinion. But facts are what's so valuable. Facts, truth is what helps us. It's what allows us to maneuver. It's the map of life. It's the map that allows us to clearly plot our course throughout life. If you don't know what's really going on, if you don't know what to look out for, then guess what? You are essentially in the jungle of life, and whatever you come across, you can be a victim of. And I feel like, and it's interesting. I recently had this conversation with my older brother. I feel like many of us, we are in love with myth. We're in love with myth and sensationalism and story. We're a story-driven society. Think of it. Even the story of our country, the story of the people in it, everything. We love stories. Humanity loves stories. We tell stories. We can equally be involved with myth. And the funny thing about myth is it's just that. It can be a myth. There's not always, the truth is not always as prevalent in myth, because what it does is it captures your attention. It captures the mystical type quality. But when you really get down to a lot of truth, it's very simplistic. Although sometimes the truth can be, as some people say, stranger than fiction. But I think that's dealing with how our minds are molded to view truth. So the reason I say that is because with all of the TV shows that we watch, Law and Order and CSI, NCSI, and all these things, we get this view on what we think certain things look like, what trouble looks like, what child trafficking looks like, who's doing this, it's those guys. And it can be so much more. It can be so much closer. This is the reason why we wanted to actually have this conversation, because it's so easy to get swept up in things via the media, the internet. You know, this company's doing this because they named this, and this is all. This is so much. It sweeps us up. You get caught up in a tsunami of non-fact, alleged non-fact, and we, at this time in our lives, need to be very, 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 very on point and rooted in facts. The more facts, the more truth we have, the easier it is to navigate. Doesn't mean that life gets easier to live. It just means it's easier to navigate because you can clearly understand what's going on. As always, I hope that everybody enjoyed the show. Please, if you like what you hear, if you would like to reach out to us, you can always do so by contacting us at our email, which is delafit13@gmail.com. Or you can go to our website, which is www.delafit.com, and leave us a message on our comment board. We are also on all social media platforms. On Twitter, we are at DeLaFit Podcast. On Instagram, we are DE_LA_Fit Podcast. On Facebook, we are at DeLaFit Podcast. That's right. I was able to get it all in one shot today. You all know how I often mess that up. I hope that you all are able to take this information, share it with your families, and use it for the good. Not let it make you afraid, because that's not the purpose of what we're doing here. We are trying to spread awareness. That's why we look to bring in some of the guests that we bring in. We want you to be made aware. When you're fully aware of something, again, you can navigate around. If you see there's a bump in the road, or if I tell you there's a bump in the road or something that's going to destroy your car, you're going to be much more alert, and you're going to have an easier time if you're able to go around it, versus if nobody tells you and you're just going 60 miles an hour full blast, and then all of a sudden you hit a very hard bump. As always, remember, we are the village, and each one should teach one. We need each other more. Humanity needs each other more than ever. Please take care of yourself. Be fair to yourself. Practice mindfulness. I know that if you practice mindfulness with yourself, there's a good and high potential that you are going to practice mindfulness and kindness with others. As always, be safe. Have a great and blessed weekend. Peace.
You've been listening to the DelaFit podcast. Ta-ta for now.